Hey everybody, it's Katie. Today we are going to talk about my best tips for trying to conceive. One of my closest friends just visited and we were having a conversation about how she and her husband are planning on conceiving their next baby soon. So this is kind of fresh in my head and I wanted to do a video about what worked really well for my husband and I when we were trying to conceive our two daughters. The first thing that I'm going to start off with is that I'm not a doctor or a medical professional. So anything that I say in this video is just what worked well for us, but I would always encourage you to talk to your provider simply because we're not all the same and they might have other options or other ideas, and just as an FYI, just always talk to your doctor as well as some of the advice we might give. When we lived in Alaska, that was when we were trying to conceive our first daughter, and my lady doctor, she used to be a fertility specialist, and so when I told her that we, after we got married, and when I told her that we were thinking about having a baby, she was like, oh, okay, she was really excited, and let me know how it goes. And so after a few months, it wasn't going anywhere, and I went to her, and I was disappointed, and I think I maybe waited about 6 months and nothing had happened, and I was like, what is going on? I have the app, which is very helpful, by the way, but I'll get to that. I have this app, why am I not pregnant? And so I went to her and I said, okay, what's going on? And she sat down with me and she gave me a few things that I'm going to share with you as well, that we ended up using, and I think it was helpful. The first thing she told me was to prepare my body and my husband's body for trying to conceive. She suggested that my husband start taking vitamin E, vitamin C, and zinc on a daily basis, and that I start taking a prenatal vitamin on a daily basis as well. And that's just kind of getting all that good stuff in your body, all the extra nutrients, because sometimes you get pregnant and you don't know right away, and so her theory was, it's good to get that in your system and get your body ready to go. So we immediately started with that. The next thing that she suggested that we do was to buy some sort of ovulation prediction kit. Now, part of the frustration for me was, we had been trying since, for 6 months and nothing had happened, and I was looking at my app and it was telling me, on day 14, this is when you need to be doing the deed, and that's when you're ovulating, and it just hadn't happened. And so she said, well, do you know when you ovulate? And I was thinking, no, I spent most of my time, my adult life before we decided to have kids, not wanting to have kids. Like, we're not ready yet, we don't want kids yet. So I was thinking, no, I don't know when I ovulate, So she said, go get the ovulation prediction kit, read the instructions, here's what you do, and then that will help you understand your body a little bit, because you might just be missing your window. Sure enough, we were. So my periods, at that time at least, were a little bit irregular. Sometimes my cycle would be 30 days, sometimes it would be 26, sometimes it would be 32, and it's kind of hard when your cycle is irregular to figure out exactly when are you going to ovulate. So the ovulation sticks, I won't go too much into detail with them, simply because they're not too difficult to use, but they will help you determine, because as you take them, you take the urine and you put the stick in, or you can pee on some of them. Some of them are fancy. It detects a hormone. It's the LH hormone, and that happens as your body is getting ready to release the egg. So it will tell you, a day or two prior to ovulation, and so turns out that at that time, and actually for my second daughter as well, I was ovulating late. So day 17, day 18, 16. So beforehand, for the 6 months, we were just missing the window, and I was getting frustrated and he was getting frustrated. And so once we figured out that we were just off by a little bit, it didn't take us too long after that to get pregnant. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the app is super helpful. They are really helpful. These ovulation, prediction, or not prediction. It helps you track your ovulation, because that month after month after month, unless you get pregnant right away, it's helpful to be able to have an app that you're saying, okay, I'm ovulating on this day, and then you can detect a pattern. So they're really helpful as long as you know when you ovulate, because if you're just following an average, I just use average on your app, it's going to be reminding you and telling you to have sex with your husband on the wrong day. So once we figured it out, it made it a lot easier for us to be intentional Because I mean, I know everybody's busy, and especially if you have other kids and you're trying to make another one, it's like, okay, we have to be intentional with our time and our intimacy and so on and so forth. So the apps are great, just make sure you know when you ovulate. Another thing that she suggested, now some of you may think this is an old wives' tale, and maybe it is, I don't know, is to use Robitussin. She told me to do a teaspoon 3 times a day when I'm ovulating. And the way she explained it to me is that if it dries up your mucus up here, then it's probably doing the same thing to your cervical mucus. And her explanation was that it makes it easier for the sperm to get through instead of having all of that, because I don't know if you've ever noticed when you ovulate, your cervical mucus is a lot thicker and slipperier and slimier, and so her rationale was that it makes it easier for the sperm to get through to the egg. Now, again, totally could be a wives' tale. I've actually read articles that are like, nah. But you know what? When you're trying to conceive and you're wanting to get that done, what's some Robitussin for a couple days? Give it a try. Anyway, I tried it with both of my girls, and I have 2 kids, so. The next suggestion, and this is something that I tried using for a little while, and I can see the benefit of it, and I can see that it would work really well if you are willing to jump through the hoops of making it work. So this is a basal thermometer, and it's more sensitive than a regular thermometer. It picks your temperature up in tenths, I believe, so it can detect a shift. And so what you do is every morning before you wake up, you don't even move. You reach over, have it close to you, you reach over, you put it in your mouth, and it gives you your temperature, and then you start recording it. And if you are doing this for a few months, you will start to notice that your body sits at a particular temperature right around there. And as you're ovulating, in fact, I think it's the day you ovulate, your temperature will spike between half of a degree and a full degree. It'll spike. And now, unless you're tracking it and writing it down, that won't make any sense, really. So it's something that you have to commit to doing. And again, if this is something, if you're like, we're trying to conceive, we're going to pull out all the stops, I'll do what it takes to get it done, this might work really well for you. The next thing is picking the right kind of lubricant. Now, again, this is one of the things that I didn't know before we tried to conceive our children, is that not all lubricant is created equal. In fact, a lot of the mainstream lubricants that you just use for intimacy, just regular intimacy, maybe like Astroglide and stuff like that, is actually not very conducive for sperm life. So this was actually suggested to me by one of my girlfriends as she was trying to conceive her babies, and it's something called Pre-Seed, and it is marketed as a fertility-friendly lubricant. The last thing that I want to tell you is when you're trying to conceive, and I am telling you this from personal experience, try your best to not stress about getting pregnant, and try your best to keep it fun. I understand, trust me, I understand it took about a year to get pregnant with our first, and actually almost that amount of time, a little shorter for our second. So I understand when you want to have a baby and it's not happening. I get it. I remember being really stressed out, a little bit frustrated, like, why is my body not doing what it's supposed to be doing? Is there something wrong with me? I went through the whole gambit of blah. So I understand. But on the other side, I can tell you that when I got pregnant was usually when I threw my hands up in the air and was like, whatever, it'll happen when it happens. And so trying to not stress out and trying to keep it as fun as possible, because it can actually kind of feel like a chore after a while, and that's not fun either. So try your best to keep that in mind, that this is hopefully a short season, and not to stress about it. Okay, that's it, you guys. If you found this video helpful, I would be honored if you would consider sharing it. If you have any suggestions, leave those in the comments below, because I always enjoy the comments, and I think it's helpful for other people who are coming here to watch this video to have your wisdom. So anything you want, go ahead and leave that down there in the comments. I'd like to invite you to be a subscriber if you're not already. And also, check us out on Facebook. If you haven't gone over there to see us on that side yet, we'd like to invite you. We post daily content, and we'd love to have you join us. So that's it. Hope you guys are doing great, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.